Hi, everybody. I'm Adam Cohn. I'm the Vice President of Broadcasting for NCMA Boston. Welcome back to yet another one of our Meet the Speaker series for the March workshop. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Ethan Becker from the Speech Improvement Company. He is the CEO of the Speech Improvement Company and a second-generation speech coach, which I'm interested in learning more about. He is the author of the international bestseller, Mastering Communication at Work: How to Lead, Manage, and Influence. Dr. Becker, welcome. And see, there you go. That's the whole beauty of doing some of these video things. You get to see the book. Dr. Becker, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome. We are glad to have you. I know it was a big hit last year at the March workshop when you guys came. We're excited to have you all back. First things first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm a second generation speech coach. I'm a part of a team of about 20 of us spread around the world. We've all studied speech communication at the graduate level or beyond. So I have 2 doctorates, an MBA, and undergrad, all related to psychology, business, and communication. And then what we do as speech coaches, we travel around the world and we do private coaching and group training on communication. Anything from the mechanics of speaking to the psychology of communicating. And that's what we do.
Excellent. So I'm really interested considering all the different degrees you have. What got you interested into your field?
Well, I didn't really want to do this job. I grew up, it's a family business. My mother and my father both together. Uh, she was studying speech pathology and he was studying rhetoric and public address. And in the 1960s, they met and had this idea that if you could coach an executive, a professional, the way an athlete was coached, you really could help them. And they focused on communication specifically. So they called the
Hmm.
company the Speech Improvement Company because that's exactly what they did. So I grew up around it, learning about theories of Aristotle and communication at the dinner table and things. And I went in a different direction after college. I studied communication and went into a big corporation for a little while. But then about 20 plus years ago, I came into the family business and I just fell in love with the work. I'm like, wow, this is really enjoyable. You really get to meet people all over the world and all kinds of vocations and try to help them get their thoughts out in a way that's more effective with whomever it is they're trying to connect with.
Hmm. It's one of those things that's interesting. It's like, oh, I keep hearing this around the dinner table and it's boring and I want to do something else. And then you're like, oh, this is actually interesting work. Years later you head on and go to
I
that.
really,
So
I
that
really love it. It's great, and the team we have here is just so great. We all work very close together. We're spread
Mhm.
out, but since COVID now, like we've been
Yep.
doing remote for decades, but since COVID, our whole team now, as we've been growing, is spread out. But we still work very, very close with each other. We study together every month. Our whole team gathers for a full day of development. We look at
That's
the
cool.
latest research on the topics of communication. We debate it. We don't always agree. We learned a long time ago, just because Harvard says something, don't make it so. So like we like to debate that stuff and then look at real life. How does this stuff affect you? Go from a theory to actual. I mean, maybe it doesn't work at all, right? That's
Right.
the we like to roll up the sleeves and get in, and at the end of the day, help other people be good at it.
Absolutely. All right. So now we're going to shift gears and start heading into the actual session here at the March workshop. So
Yeah.
what I think we kind of already get the idea on this one, but what interests you specifically about this? And for those out there, you've already clicked the link, you're already here, but this is public speaking training from the Speech Improvement Company. So what interests you
Yeah.
specifically about what you're going to be presenting on? And then we'll get into what people can expect to learn during the session.
Yeah, interesting. There's a technical inside joke we have here that there's no such thing as public speaking because from a technical perspective, all speech and speaking is public because we don't say private
Fair?
speaking. That's our thoughts, right? But I know what you mean. I'm just kidding around. Uh, with this here, we're going to go beyond just the stand up, give the formal presentation. We'll learn some techniques for that. But if it's like what we did last year, the quality of the questions coming in were really good. And that allowed me to sort of adapt what I had planned and talk about the context.
Hmm.
So, for instance, how do some of these communication techniques or tools apply or maybe not apply in specific negotiation conversations? but not always about the negotiation. Some of the questions were about, like, how do I deal with my boss or my colleague? So there's a lot of overlapping there, but it creates a forum for us to discuss, teach, learn, maybe even some light practicing with some things. Don't be afraid of that. It's easy. It's easy. But yeah, we're gonna just get all into it. It's gonna be great.
I'm looking forward to it. So that kind of ties together both questions. What can people expect to learn during the event? I'm really looking forward to seeing if we can, we have those good poignant questions. I told you before we hit the record button, this is one selfishly when I'm at the workshop, one that I'm targeting to go to, because as a broadcaster, I do video game broadcasting. I've done commentary, even like you said, it can be as small as how do you speak to your boss? How do you speak to a coworker?
Mm-hmm.
How do you speak to another colleague that may be so they want to do things a certain way because that's how they do things? How do you communicate effectively, right? A lot
Yeah.
of us that are listening, we're context professionals. We know we're working with program, we're working with finance, we're working with contracts, subcontracts, we're working with a vast number of people, let alone the outside vendors.
That's right.
And to be able to learn how to communicate is something I'm really looking forward to. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Well, we are gonna. Those are the kinds of questions and situations that typically will come up at this workshop. So the tools and techniques that I'm going to be talking about and teaching are going to be applicable there, but you may find in other places. And if you came last year, and you're thinking of coming back again, there will be maybe some review. I don't know yet. I'm still, but so what? I mean, and when we hear that, hey, I went to this one last year. When we hear things in a new context or a new light, or there's a different batch of questions that are coming in, or you have questions you're dying to ask, bring it all with you, because we'll have time in the workshop to do all of that.
Awesome. I want to quickly summarize this again as we're heading towards the end of the interview. What can people expect to learn during the event? Now, there's going to be a lot of talking about what can be some of those things that people can expect to learn.
Okay. You're about your own organization of your own thoughts when you're connecting with people. How do you calm yourself if you're feeling nervous? How do you handle somebody who's defensive with you? How do you frame?
That was the word I was looking for earlier.
Yep. How do you frame your conversations in a way that maximize the chance that they get it, whatever that thing you're trying to get them to understand? It's not easy, and it's not one size fits all, but we're going to talk about it, learn about it. You'll get some great techniques on how to do it, both
Excellent.
at work and at home, which is kind of nice too.
Even better. As I know, being a married person, communication is always something we're working to improve.
Yeah.
So I'm so looking forward to this event. Again, the March workshop, you know it, you're here, March 13th, Bentley University. Last I heard, I'm recording this on February 20th, 2024. Tickets for in-person are almost sold out. There's infinite number of spaces available online. Make sure you get your tickets. You're not going to want to miss Dr. Becker's session. There is a ton of great stuff
And
we
I throw
have.
one quick thing here, Adam.
By all
Also,
means.
if you want me thinking of something in advance, you can email me if you want. Ethan, ETHAN, at speechimprovement.com. And just say, hey, I'm planning to go. This is something on my mind. That's fine. It'll help me also in my own preparation coming to the event. That's okay to do that.
I like that. Ethan at speechimprovement.com, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Becker, it's a pleasure, and I can't wait to meet you in person. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you listen to the rest of our Meet the Speaker series right on our YouTube playlist.
Thanks, Adam.